I'm Val Yazel, the chairman for the Chamber Board of Directors, and I'd like to welcome you all this afternoon. I'd also like to welcome you on behalf of all the sponsors and for Mayor Tim Davlin. The Greater Springfield Chamber of Commerce is focused on enhancing the business climate and stimulating economic development in Sangamon County. Through the Quantum Growth Partnership, the Chamber is proud to sponsor and partner with local government, labor, and business leaders to build wealth, unity, and prosperity in Sangamon County with 4,500 new, expanded, and retained jobs by 2012. It's through these partnerships that our community is transforming the economy of Sangamon County. The Chamber also offers help for businesses to succeed in Sangamon County. Through the Chamber's Small Business Network, we're able to specifically meet the needs of small businesses in our community. Through the initiatives like the Chamber University, we provide businesses with the training and the tools that are needed to succeed. The Chamber would like to recognize many of our partners who are elected officials that were able to join us today. If you would stand when I call your name and remain standing, and please hold your applause till everyone has been announced. Jim Langfelder, City Treasurer. Debbie Cimarosa, Alderman. Matt Pickett, representing the Honorable John Shimkus office. Judy Hines, representing Congressman Aaron Schock's office. Dr. Charlotte Warren, President, Lincoln Land Community College. Andy Van Meter, Sangamon County Board Chairman, and Dr. Richard Ringheisen, Chancellor, University of Illinois, Springfield. Let's give them a round of applause. I'd now like to introduce Amy Raftis, Chair of the Commercial Real Estate Network of the Capital Area Association of Realtors. Amy.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Val. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today. I represent about 40 members, a little better, of the CREN, which is the Commercial Real Estate Network. Our members are here at this front table, and we're also joined by Linda Nelson, who is president of the Capital Area Association of Realtors, and Terry Newting, who is president-elect. This is the 4th year that we've been honored to be a co-sponsor of this event. CREN was established in 1999 as a service of the Capital Area Association of Realtors, and we are accredited by the Commercial Division of the National Association of Realtors. CREN caters exclusively to the needs of realtors who are engaged in the practice of commercial real estate brokerage and management in the capital area. We have members from Jacksonville all the way to Taylorville. Our mission is to promote the cooperative transaction of commercial real estate business in the capital area. This is accomplished through our regular meetings, where our members share educational and informational programs, and through networking and the sharing of property information. CREN promotes the highest standards of professional ethics and conduct of our members. We also serve to protect and promote the right to own, lease, manage, develop, and transfer commercial property. CREN protects and promotes private enterprise and strives to maintain a governmental environment supportive of the industry. At your tables today, there's a little brochure that introduces you to CREN. You can also visit our website at cbuildings.com. The main purpose for my being here today is to introduce Mayor Tim Davlin. Mayor Davlin has held the office of Mayor of Springfield since April of 2003. Since taking office, he has overseen great change in downtown Springfield and throughout the city, including the opening of the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Museum. During his time in office, improvements to the city's infrastructure, such as the greatly anticipated extension of MacArthur Boulevard, have been accomplished, along with expansion programs to help small businesses grow and prosper. Let us please welcome Mayor Tim Davlin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And Special thanks to the Chamber of Commerce. Gary Plummer, we have had a great relationship in the last 7 years. I find that there are a lot of other communities that don't have the same relationship with the mayor's office that you have with the Chamber of Commerce. And I've said this many times, so many people think that we're an extension, or you're an extension of city government. To me, that's the biggest feather that you can have in a cap. So thank you very much. Your staff is wonderful. And I think anybody that's been a current president or past president of a board knows from the top to the bottom that we truly have one of the best staffs that are there. So thank you very much for allowing me to be here for, it's unbelievable, 7 out of the last 10 State of the City addresses. Today is my 7th year and 17th day on the job, and it's gone fast. I want to introduce my family table. My mom is here along with my sister Kathy, Carol Ann, my brother Kevin, my son Ryan, my daughter Tara, and then we have 3 non-family members, Vanda Hunter, my very special friend, Michelle Londrigan, and I want everyone to welcome to Springfield, family friend that's here from Colorado. He is, but actually lives in New Hampshire, a former member of the New Hampshire House of Representatives, Dr. Judson K. Dexter. Welcome, thanks for being here with us. You know, I have to say this, that certainly this last year has been a challenge, and it's been challenging, and I couldn't have done it without the support of those people at that table, but I couldn't have done it without the support of my staff. And I'm fortunate to have some of them here today. My directors are here, but couldn't live on a day-to-day basis without my buddy Tim Davlin. Thanks a lot. You got a hot date back there. His daughter Elizabeth is here. Thanks, Elizabeth, for coming here with us. But I'm telling you, without the directors that I have, we never could have gotten through this last year, and one of the toughest years that we've had. You know, I've been thinking for the last week or so, what do you do? How do you give a State of the City? I've read speeches before, and I have to tell you, I can't stand that. I don't like to do that. And then I realized that I actually gave the State of the City address a week ago, actually right now, a week ago Monday at this exact same time, and I gave it to 2 strangers up in Chicago, 2 people that, if I could say that with all due respect from everyone in this room, that probably have more to do with the financial future or outcome and the way that we're looked at than probably everybody else here in this room, and I'll explain. And not only that, but at the very end of our 1-hour meeting, they also give us a grade. And what I mean by that, it's probably any mayor's worst nightmare to get a call a few weeks ago from Standard & Poor's, the rating agency, that says, we want to come in and we want to re-examine your rating. And I'm telling you, if you ever want to feel your heart drop, you get a call like that, especially here a time like this when we're in some of our worst financial conditions. But they asked if they could do that. Certainly you obliged them. And let me give you a little bit of background. When I got here in 2003, the city's corporate rating was a AA negative outlook. And fortunately, we did some things to change it around, and in February 2006, we were upgraded to AA neutral outlook. But they also said that they also wanted to examine our sewer bonds and the fund of our sewer fund. And so it was another examination that we had to. And I asked a week ago, why Springfield? Are you doing that to our peers? Are you doing that to Peoria and Rockford and Champaign? And they said no, but we haven't had a bond referendum. We haven't gone out and asked to borrow money since 2003, 2004, when we had to refinance and put some bonds out to pay for the early retirement initiative that came on at the same time that I took the job. So we talked about a lot of things. We talked about the good, and we talked about the bad and the ugly. And basically, it was my State of the City to these 2 analysts that then told me that they would go back to the full committee, and by the end of the week, we would know, by the end of last week, we would know what happened to our financial ratings. And we talked about a lot of the negative things that are going on here in Springfield. They talked about the 120 jobs, manufacturing jobs, that are going to be moving to Mexico, and we know that they won't be around much longer, and they've been a big part of, Hobbs has been a big part of Springfield for decades and decades. And we talked about the city budget and where we had been. We talked about unemployment last Monday, but fortunately, when I got there, we just found out on Friday that our unemployment rate went from 10.1 to 9.3%, and that's a move in the right direction. Maybe one of our first signs of economic recovery. And it was nice to be there on Monday and not Friday when we didn't have those new numbers. And so we went in depth about that, and basically it was you give yourself the best sales pitch that you can about your community. But we also talked about the elimination of a lot of jobs at the city of Springfield and what it took to get a balanced budget. We talked about the fact that I eliminated 40 jobs that were there and they were filled and people were working at them just a year earlier. And that unfortunately we have 31 right now, 31 full-time status individuals that are laid off in the city of Springfield. And I think this would be probably a really good time to say thank you to all city employees and to the unions that helped and stood up to the plate at a time when we are at our worst financial time, maybe going back to the early 1900s. And I need to thank them for what they did and making concessions and deferring the incomes that they knew they had in a contract, but it was that or basically having more layoffs. And so I can't say enough about the employees and the unions that stepped forth and really helped us out. For me, though, I think that was the meeting last Wednesday was probably more of a confidence builder for me because what I found out was that Standard & Poor's is doing this to a lot of other communities, not just in Illinois, and we're not in near as bad a shape as a lot of the others. And to me, that's good. Let me tell you what they use to compare. They use our CAFR, from all of you from Eckern-Breckel, who provided the service to us for a long time. You know that that consolidated annual financial report doesn't lie. It tells you the numbers. Whether it's good or it's bad, those numbers are there. And we're not as bad as I think a lot of the other communities around the state of Illinois. I think it's so hard for us to think outside of our borders of the city of Springfield. We know what our problems are, but I'm going to tell you, they're everywhere, and they're especially bad in other cities in the state of Illinois. I think one of the things that probably helped us more than anything was the fact that we talked about how we balanced a budget that's $17 million less than last year, about $10 million of real money, of salaried money, and we did all that with absolutely no tax increase. And if there was any feather in our cap, that was probably the biggest one that we talked about. And then we talked about, they wanted to talk about housing, and what was amazing was as soon as they said that, both of the analysts chuckled a little bit. And you'll certainly get a kick out of this to the real estate friends that are here. They chuckled, and then they explained later that they chuckled because it's just amazing what the cost of living here in Springfield and how low it is and how we're constantly in the top 10 or 15 or 20 most affordable places to live in the United States of America. And they chuckled because they have friends and family here, and they know what the value of a $150,000 house is here, what it would be like up in Chicago. And that's a combination of a lot of things, including utility rates that we'll talk about in a few minutes, but at least that was one good thing. I think I found that they were laughing with us, and they certainly weren't laughing at us. And then we talked about the things that are going on in the city of Springfield and the construction that's going on, and they asked about when the Kindred Health facility would be opened up. They knew that was close, and they knew a lot about Springfield. But you know, we talked also about where the future of the jobs are in our city, and it comes down to two words, and that's medical district. Right now, our largest construction going on in the city of Springfield, as I heard, as Ed Curtis told me on Saturday, that there's $150 million worth of construction going on at Memorial Hospital, and that is small in comparison to the $170 million of construction going on right now at St. John's Hospital. And there's a lot more to come, and that's phase one. I think it's pretty obvious, especially after what's happened in the last few years, and we've seen what Springfield Clinic has done and all the other construction that's gone on, that's really where our future is. And we talked a lot about that. And I want to vary just a little bit from that meeting from Standard & Poor's, because we briefly only talked about tourism. And tourism today still is going to remain as one of our largest, most stable industries. You know, it's an old saying that no matter how bad things get, you can't take away my birthday. But you also can't take away tourism from the city of Springfield. Those numbers are going to go up, and those numbers are going to go down. But right now in the city of Springfield, we have over 4,000 jobs just in that industry, in the hospitality industry. Our historic site visits were up 23% last year. And this is a time in a bad economy when people aren't traveling as much, and that sure says a lot. But I think that one of the things they talked about in that meeting was the fact that Springfield really is a destination. One of the things that intrigued Standard & Poor's most was the new Shields and how we were able to attract a Shields to the city of Springfield. And we explained that Springfield is a destination. And if any of you have got to drive out on the new MacArthur Boulevard last weekend after last Friday, you'd see the construction that's going on at Shields. And that's a huge commitment. Certainly, it was delayed a little bit because of the economy, and I understand that. But now it's going full speed ahead. And I think anytime we think about destinations, we think about all those other things that are going to continue to make Springfield a destination. And one of the big things I think that's it's going to be something we talk about for years and years to come, just like the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, is going to be Southwind Park. And on May 19th, and everybody thinks this is Butch Elsey's project, and this isn't Butch Elsey's. He's going to be the first one to tell you this is Springfield's project, but it happened to be headed up by a guy by the name of Butch Elsey that probably wouldn't be completed on May 19th if it weren't for that one particular guy. But we are going to have something that no one else in the United States of America has when we open up Southwind Park. And on May 19th, Aaron's Pavilion is going to go up, and I think it's just one more reason why Springfield becomes a destination. But I also want to talk about some things that are going to go on downtown tourism-wise, because you're going to see some things downtown you've never seen. I've lived in Springfield my entire life, but thanks to a grant of a few $100,000 from DCO, and I want to certainly thank the director Warren Ribley, who made sure these tourism dollars became available to the city. What you're going to see is costumed interpreters and storytellers that are going to be downtown, and we've never had anything like it. And they're going to be downtown for a couple of months to greet our visitors, to steer them in the right direction. You're also going to see a little change of downtown, because very shortly there's going to be new kiosks that are going to help those individuals that are visiting here to find a place to stay, to find a place to eat, to find the other historic sites around the city of Springfield. And you're going to see those kiosks popping up here pretty soon. You know, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the Presidential Library and Museum. Unbelievable now that here we are, 5 years old and over 2 million visitors, and we never knew what to expect when that first opened. Just unbelievable to walk downtown on a Saturday morning and look at the lines just waiting to go in there when they open their doors. And again, as much as we don't think this is tourism, it is in that industry. Take a look at what happened just a couple of weeks ago at the State House Inn, and our economy's down. And the State House Inn just finished a multi-million-dollar project because they know that downtown Springfield is a place where people want to be. They know they're a block away from the state capitol. And no matter what happens in economic times, people are going to continue to have meetings, and they're going to continue to need the facilities like State House Inn has done. And then just a few weeks ago, we see for the first 3 months of the year that the airport numbers are up 28% compared to the same 3 months from last year. What tremendous changes have been made at the airport, one of the easiest places to fly in and fly out of, and it's not just that. Our Amtrak numbers that we talked about for years before this that were doubling and doubling and doubling, we didn't think they'd ever stop growing, and they're still up 18% over last year. I don't know if you realize it or not, but this track from Chicago to St. Louis is one of the 3 top performing Amtrak routes in almost 21,000 miles, and we're in the top 3. That just tells you that certainly Springfield is right in the middle of all that destination. And let me talk for just a minute about the Amtrak station itself. Tomorrow marks the 145 years ago tomorrow that Abraham Lincoln's body was brought back on the funeral train. And as much as we don't know the certainty of where rail is going to be in the coming years, we're still going to move forward with the remodeling of the Amtrak station. It's a very historic building that right now is in desperate need of repair. I don't think it's throwing good money after bad, because that building's going to be around whether it's a train station or whether it's a farmer's market or something else in years to come. It's in dire need of work, and it's going to happen, and you're going to be seeing that shortly. We talk about all the other things it takes to be a destination, and I think one of our proudest moments is the fact that here we are, the oldest LPGA a tour event that's around. And I don't know, we were talking before that how easy it is to keep calling it the Rail Classic, and we still find ourselves doing that. Maybe it's because it's been around for 35 years, but now it's in the 4th year of being able to be held here in Springfield out at Panther Creek. And what's very interesting is that I guess it took us 35 years to decide that maybe we ought to see what kind of impact that's going to be. And thanks to an economic study done by Northern Illinois University, we found out that the economic impact currently that the State Farm Classic has is about $23 million to our economy. And you can't buy that kind of stuff, but that's what happens after 23 years. And You know, we can't thank State Farm enough for staying with us. No one ever knows what's going to happen in the future, but when we think about how much is put back into our economy over the last 35 years, it's just unbelievable. But we have other places that we need work in, and certainly the east side of the city of Springfield and our east side project is moving along. Nothing ever moves as fast as you want it to, but thanks to the great partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, East Side Springfield is going to move along. We had a great meetings last week where we're going to continue to work with the chambers, but we're also going to work using our NSP money, our Neighborhood Stabilization Program money, to be able to partner that with our Community Development Block Grant money and home money, so that we can begin to revitalize the east side. And a lot of it is, I know it's painstakingly slow, but we have to start land banking so that we can have those projects like the Nehemiah Project and TSP Hope and the partners that we have in Habitat for Humanity, so that we can plan it out and not have just a hodgepodge of development that goes in there, and we're getting there. I think that it's one of the reasons why we have to plan ahead, and we have to be ready to make sure shovel-ready projects are shovel-ready. We know what's happened in the past when we've planned ahead, and a perfect example of that right now is, excuse me, is a Southwest Fire Facility. When we went out and we lobbied the federal government for what our needs are, our top priority in the city of Springfield is to build a new Southwest Fire Station. And the critics will ask, well, why would you do that when you can't even afford to pay the firemen that you have there right now? And the answer is simple. If you have something that's shovel-ready, when the time comes and the money's going to be available, you have to be ready to build. This economy is going to change. It's the worst it's been around since the early 1900s. We're going to get through this. And when we do, we have to be prepared and make sure that all the resources that we have are going to be used to the very best that we possibly can do. I think it's probably the reason why we continue to push for the planning of the Stanford extension, so that we can have another east-west corridor in the city of Springfield. You know, I just take a look at the traffic count over the Stanford overpass, and that was just a few years ago. We flipped the switch and turned that on, and now we need to finish that, and it's going to take some planning stages. And as I said, it's painstakingly slow. We don't have the money to finish it, but if we don't have the plans on the books and the money becomes available, we are certainly losing out. I'm also excited when we talk about infill, and not just the east side, but I'm truly excited about two of the studies that we have going on right now, thanks to some monies that we use both from TIF money, and we also received some congressional earmark, and that was to do the two studies of both MacArthur Boulevard and also the Enos Park area. And those studies are underway right now. And I think everyone is looking forward to seeing what can come out of there, because Enos Park then is going to blend right into what we end up doing in the medical district, and it ties into everything that we're trying to do to fill in and have infill in the city of Springfield. You know, and I'd be remiss also if I didn't mention what Dahlman 4 is going to be able to do for us. You know, we talked about a year ago from right now, talked about the fact that it looks like we're ahead of schedule, and we were ahead of schedule. We were under budget. You know, and as I went in today, any of you that know the keyboards, when you go in and I typed in Dahlman 4 in my notes, if you don't hit the shift key, it comes up as a $sign. And that's the way it came up on mine, was Dahlman with money. And it truly is. Right now, the electric rates are depressed somewhat, but if and when this economy changes around, Dahlman 4 is going to come back and pay us benefits many, many times over. And all of us that paid that 33% rate increase to build Dahlman 4 are going to be able to get our benefits back. We don't know how many fold, but it's certainly going to happen. And lastly, I want to mention something that's probably consumed, I don't know, I'd say maybe a few thousand hours, and I know that Andy Van Meter and I certainly have even more gray hairs than what we started a year ago. And that was when we've ran into something we didn't even think we'd be talking about 15, 16 months ago, and that's railroad and railway consolidation in the city of Springfield. The people just in this room right now that were involved in that probably spent thousands and thousands of hours in a 6, 7, 8 month period to get where we are today. But I have to say we're where we want to be today, and we're on course to be able to take a look at what is the best course for the city of Springfield in all railroad consolidation. This is not a 10th Street corridor project. That's not what it is. It's a 3rd Street, a 10th Street, and a 19th Street corridor, and what's best for the entire community. We've had now several meetings, including one good community meeting where everyone's had the chance to weigh in on it. And I have to say thank you from the very beginning to Senator Durbin, but also to Governor Quinn and Secretary of Transportation Gary Hanig, who really are our partners in here. There's no way in this financial situation, City of Springfield could have come up with $4 million to do an environmental impact study, but that's what's needed to determine ultimately what happens to the railways here in the City of Springfield. And I thank every one of you partners that got us here. And a lot of time and energy was put in there, but it was all good. Every bit of that, it was needed to be able to do that. I know it consumed our lives, but it was one good project. Before I finish, I want to tell you about how that Standard & Poor's meeting turned out. Formal letters are going to come in a few weeks, but what they told us, the two analysts then went back to the full board, and they gave their report, and then they come up with a recommendation to either to upgrade our status, to lower our status, leave it alone. And what they've told us in our formal letter be coming soon was it was basically the management decisions that were made to get us through those two balanced budgets, from negotiating with the unions to the furloughs to all the concessions that were there. It was those management decisions where is how we finally got to the point and a vote was taken not to downgrade us, to leave us alone. But what it's even more important is our sewer bond rating was actually upgraded from a AA negative to a neutral. So in times like this, to me, that was like winning. That was winning the big game, not to be downgraded at a time when we know we've had to use a lot of our fund balance to be able to balance our budget. And I think that's a vote of confidence for everyone in the City of Springfield to get a rating where it didn't get downgraded. You got to have one prop, and I know somewhere, I think this was back on just April 23rd when the new unemployment rates came out, but Springfield's economy is getting better, but I think the subtitle of that is the analysts say area has a long way to go before a full recovery, and I certainly have to agree with that. And not that I don't always agree with the State Journal Register, but I certainly agree with those that are there, and we do have a long way to go. I would have to say this: if somebody's going to come up with what do you think about the state of the city right now, I have to tell you, to me, it's rock solid. We know that the financial situation we hope is stabilized. We hope in the near future that it's going to improve. I think as we all continue to work together, we're going to get through the time that we have right now, and we're going to continue to increase our quality of life. We're going to continue to use our resources wisely. And I think someday we're going to be able to look back on this, and we're going to realize that everything that we set in motion in these really difficult financial times has really set a stage for an emergence of what I would like to think is one stronger Springfield, Illinois. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Davlin. Appreciate your remarks. A special thank you for your comments at the beginning of that. We certainly enjoy our working relationship with you and your staff. We put a lot of value on the Chamber's working relationship with the city and the county. And I know we were there at the table a lot during the early stages of the high-speed rail situation when it hit Springfield. And I can't compliment these two gentlemen, Chairman Van Meter and Mayor Davlin, enough for the way they pulled this community together behind a common cause. And we're very optimistic that we're going down the right path at this point. Both Mayor Davlin and Chairman Van Meter are members of the Chamber Board of Directors and the Q5 Advisory Board. I'd like to ask other members of the Chamber Board and the Q5 Advisory Board who are here today, would you please stand and let's recognize them as a group. Would you please stand? Thank you. We also want to thank CRAN and the Capital Area Association of Realtors for your sponsorship. We appreciate you staying with this event, and we think it's a great partnership. We also want to thank GSCC and the Abraham Lincoln Hotel Conference Center for their efforts in making this event today a success. And a special thank you to Sharon Thiessen, who is the Chamber's event coordinator. We really appreciate you being with us today. Have a great day.
Thank you.